When federal agents shot and killed 37-year-old Alex Pretti in Minneapolis on Saturday, officials said he approached agents with a handgun intending to massacre them.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
But a Times analysis of video footage from the scene and the moments when two officers opened fire clearly contradict federal government statements. Pretti does not appear to pose a threat to agents. In fact, at several critical junctures, he's outnumbered and under their control. Here are the key moments that reveal what happened. We see Pretti walking about filming a group of protesters who are speaking with a federal agent. He's holding a cell phone in one hand. The other hand is empty. It's just over 30 seconds before the shooting when a protester is pushed to the ground. Pretti steps between her and the agent who'd shoved her, briefly putting his hand on the agent's waist. The agent pepper sprays Pretti's face. We can see Pretti is still holding his phone in one hand, while holding his other hand up to protect himself against the spray. Contrary to statements by federal officials, he's made no threatening movements towards agents. Pretti, who had a firearms permit, carries a gun holstered on his right hip. But he doesn't reach for it, and it appears agents are unaware the gun is even there. He reaches toward the protester, apparently trying to help her up, while agents begin grabbing him from behind. He tries to pull away, and again, he makes no threatening movements towards the agents. But agents pull him backwards and force him to the ground. Then, shots ring out. Now we'll slow things down so each moment is clear. Here is Pretti. Several agents are restraining him, and this is the Border Patrol agent who will shoot him first. This appears to be when agents first notice that Pretti is carrying a firearm and yell that he has a gun. Watching the same moment from a different angle, the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti beats him several times with the spray canister. We can see that both of Pretti's arms are pinned down by his head. This agent in gray reaches to remove Pretti's weapon from his hip. As this agent unholsters his gun, nudges the agent in gray out of the way, and fires. Let's rewind and focus on the agent who shoots first. Just seconds before he fired, he was facing away from Pretti and focusing on an entirely different situation as he tries to spray a nearby woman with an irritant. The spray appears to malfunction and the agent turns as he adjusts it. That's when someone yells that Pretti has a gun. And around 5 seconds after fully turning his attention toward Pretti, the agent draws his weapon and shoots. His arm visibly recoils at the first shot. The firearm has clearly been removed from the scrum when the first shots are fired toward Pretti at close range. The officer who disarmed Pretti can be seen reacting to the sound of the first shot, looking back toward the skirmish. The shooter was standing behind Pretti and not under direct threat, contradicting statements from Homeland Security officials that he fired defensive shots. He also has a vantage point to see the gun pulled from the scene, but it's unclear if he did, and whether he thought a weapon was still on Pretti. He then fires 3 more shots from behind Pretti, whose arms are down as he appears to brace himself against the pavement. In one hand, he still holds his phone, and in his other, his glasses. The agent in gray who removed Pretti's gun carries it across the street. Pretti is disarmed and falling to the ground. But the agent who first pepper sprayed Pretti and later beat him with a canister also pulls out his gun. From a distance, despite the fact that Pretti is lying motionless on the ground, these 2 agents fire 6 more shots. Neither is under threat.
What the fuck did you just do?
In total, the agents fire 10 shots in 5 seconds. After the shooting, An agent kneeling next to Pretti's body asks where the gun is.
I got the gun.
Showing that not all of the officers seemed to know the weapon had been removed. Agents appear to begin giving medical aid. About 31 seconds elapsed from the time agents first physically engaged Pretti to the moment the last shot was fired.
I made it all the way to the scene of the shooting of Alex Pretti, and then the federal agents almost immediately pushed everybody to the intersection. No one really knew what was happening. They were just gathering because they'd heard there had been a shooting, and people were seeing the videos that were being released. People started shouting, "You killed another one of our neighbors." Many people were pressing up against the police tape. All of a sudden, it just became a chaotic clash. I saw federal agents just walk up and pepper spray people in the face. One man was walking away from the police line with his hands up, chanting. A couple dozen federal agents started running down the middle of the street, chasing him. He tried to run, and they tackled him in the street. His partner collapsed down to her knees and was crying and pleading with the federal officers on the side of the road. When the federal agents decided to leave, they just pushed everyone back and just created a cloud of tear gas, jumped into their vehicles, and then they just left. At that point, people finally were able to walk down and find the spot where the shooting had happened, and we're all looking around, investigating, pointing at bullet holes in the glass, looking at blood droplets in the snow and ice, and all trying to kind of piece together what maybe had happened.
Go you fear ice now! Go you fear ice now!
As it got darker, people were still gathering around what was becoming a candlelight vigil space.
Say his name! Alex Pretti!
I think many people learned his name for the first time when pictures of him started to appear, and they wrote his name in pine cones. Everyone was just standing in sub-zero temperatures, bitter cold. You could see everyone's breath in the air. And then this man walked through the crowd. He had an American flag on a pole. He leaned down to place a candle with this flag draped over his back, and everyone just opened a space for him to walk in and kneel. It was very quiet, very somber, very peaceful, and such a contrast to hours earlier.
But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members.
An individual
approached
U.S.
U.S.
Border
Border
Patrol
Patrol officers
with a
with
9mm
semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to
The agents
disarm this
attempted
individual,
to disarm the
but
individual,
the armed suspect
but he
reacted
violently resisted, fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers.
An agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately.
Delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage.
Where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
This individual went and impeded their law enforcement operations, attacked those officers, had a weapon on him, and multiple dozens of rounds of ammunition, wishing to inflict harm on these officers, coming brandishing like that and impeding their work that they were doing.
So when they say, why would you be out here? How the fuck could I not be out here? You know? Like, my nation is under attack.
It's an Army Ranger, 1st Ranger Battalion, did 6 combat deployments to Afghanistan. Pre-vet PTSD. I spent like almost 2 years in inpatient, a whole lot of time in outpatient, you know, working on that. I was assaulted and then arrested by ICE the other day out here. And then they couldn't press the charges, of course, because there's video on CNN of them coming at me as I'm backing away from them. So we're at Whipple and they take you in there. It's Homeland Security asking about, like, you're from Philadelphia. Why? We can't comprehend why you would be here. And I'm like, well, because the nation that I was willing to die for is being systematically oppressed with men in military uniforms, a private army told by the president they have no other laws to follow than his, and they're systematically attacking and even killing our neighbors in the United States of America. I can't understand how all my veteran buddies are like still along with this. It's like we took an oath to the Constitution. And that's just being shredded right now. How could so many people swear an oath to something and then fucking Humpty Dumpty orange man is out here and they're like, no, we're going to follow him instead of this oath that we took that we all swore to uphold and defend against enemies foreign and domestic. This has all of the signs from every fascist movement in history that we're going to lose the opportunity to resist. So that's why I'm here.
Hey folks, so let's talk about what's going on in Minnesota here. So you all saw what I saw in those videos, and this was about as clear-cut as it gets. But DHS and the White House are trying to tell you a completely different story. They called him a domestic terrorist and said he was there to kill people. That's nonsense. Let me tell you something here. So my parents were both police officers. They served their community. They made our community safer, and that's not what is going on here. Not what these guys are doing. These guys are running around in masks. They're hiding their names, they're hiding their faces, they're dressed like special operators, and they're hurting people with zero accountability. And it has to stop. My parents didn't wear a mask when they were serving their community. I didn't wear a mask while I was serving in the Navy. We did it with our names and our faces in clear view. And we were proud to do so. This week, the Senate will vote on funding DHS. And I'm going to be voting no. But we need Republicans to also get off the sidelines here and put a stop to this. If you're upset and angry, here's something that you can do right now to help. You can call your U.S. senators and call your representatives and let them know how you feel. And tell them that this chaos in our streets has to end.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hillary. Hillary. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
You can't police people for being anti-Israel or pro-Israel. You can police people for violating the law. And we have seen some of that with some of these protests.
Okay, so you agree that people who break in and vandalize a building should be prosecuted?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just checking because you did help raise money for people who did so on January 6th, which was, you know, impeding an official proceeding, breaking into a building that they weren't allowed to be in, and vandalizing the Capitol.
Well, Caitlin, I know that this is the obsession of the national media to talk about what happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago on January the 6th.
It's not an obsession. I'm just seeing if it's a double standard.
No, let me answer the question, Caitlin. I mean, look, here's been my basic argument about January the 6th. If you beat up a cop, of course, you deserve to go to prison. If you violated the law, you should suffer the consequences. But there are people who protested on January the 6th who have had the complete weight of the Justice Department thrown at them when, at worst, they're accused of misdemeanors. Now, again, there are people who are accused of worse offenses, and that's a problem. But you can't have Black Lives Matter protesters who rioted and vandalized goes free when you have people who were actually peacefully protesting on January the 6th who have the book thrown at them. That's the double standard that I'm most worried about.
Yeah, I don't think there's an obsession with January 6th, but it is a legitimate question. And given what you just said there, and as Trump is getting closer to, you know, as he's a presumptive Republican nominee, he has said he would pardon, he's considered a blanket pardon for everyone on January 6th. Are you saying that shouldn't happen? People who beat up cops should be excluded from that?
Well, I think what President Trump has said, and of course he can speak for himself, but I pay pretty close attention to what he says. And yeah, I think what the president has said is that people who have this double standard applied to them should be pardoned.
He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Look, this isn't hard. You can see with your own eyes that Trump's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is lying. Masked federal agencies shot and killed another American citizen in broad daylight. The man was Alex Pretti, an ICU nurse at a Minneapolis VA hospital. He was not a terrorist. He was a nurse for veterans. And when agents pushed a woman to the ground, he tried to help her get up. His last words on earth were, "Are you okay?" Donald Trump and Kristi Noem think they can tell you what to believe. They think you will believe them instead of your own eyes. Don't roll over for a lie. These lies have to stop. We cannot allow this shooting and ICE's blatant violations of law to be covered up. It's time to rein in the federal agents who think they can swagger through our streets, throw people to the ground, shoot American citizens, and then count on protection from Trump and Noem. We need a full, independent investigation and all wrongdoing held to account to the fullest extent of the law. The victims of this violence deserve justice. As I've said before, Kristi Noem should resign, and if she doesn't, Congress should impeach her and remove her from office. In America, we still believe in accountability, not lies.
Discrediting even these officers. They're going to make their job more difficult and more dangerous with this incompetence that I'm seeing out of Noem and out of Stephen Miller.
The president called you a loser, I believe.
I am thrilled about that. That makes me qualified to be Homeland Security Secretary and Senior Advisor to the President.
Yikes.
Power. We have to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be prosecuting gang members, not small business owners. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies. ICE shot a mother in the face. ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy. ICE executed a man in broad daylight on our streets just this morning. It's time to tear down this secret police force and replace it with an agency that actually is going to focus on public safety. We need to impeach Kristi Noem. We need to prosecute agents who've abused their power. We have to haul these masked men before Congress so the world can see their faces. We should be cracking down on the cartels, not our communities. We should be prosecuting gang members, not small business owners. We should be hunting down human traffickers, not moms and babies.
He is by far the most disgraceful figure in modern presidential history. He's only become more disgraceful since 2016 and since 2020. He is a bubbling cauldron of loathsome traits, and it's only those who are actually suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, which is the way they and Fox News and all the rest of MAGA media try to brush aside all the legitimate criticisms of Trump. You have to be in the throes of some sort of toxic delusion, in a toxic cult, to believe that Donald Trump has ever been, in any sense, emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, or ethically fit to be president of the United States. But his supporters are locked in on that.
Eric and I's son, Connor, turns 5 years old next month. 5 years old. And like so many parents across this country, I watched in disbelief last week as photographs emerged of ICE agents literally kidnapping a 5-year-old in Minnesota. a child named Liam Cornejo Ramos. He's nearly the same age as Connor. They didn't kidnap him because a child had done anything wrong, because they wanted to use him as bait. As bait. They took a 5-year-old, terrified and confused, knocking on his damn parents' door, still wearing his Spider-Man backpack from school, and used him to lure out his dad and then arrested him. You want to stand up here and defend that? Go right ahead. That's not who we are as Americans or as a country. But it doesn't start or end there. Like millions of Americans, we watched with horror this past weekend as ICE agents murdered Alex Pretti in Minneapolis. Let's call it what it is. State-sponsored violence. Just under 3 weeks ago, we watched as Renee Good was murdered by the secret police. Right now, there are kids across America, right here in Sacramento and across the state, who are too afraid to go to school. Parents across this country who won't go to work because they don't want to be separated from their kids and deported. You talk to doctors and nurse practitioners, parents aren't sending their kids to the doctor anymore because they're afraid of being deported. Not because they are criminals, but because they are being targeted by the color of their skin. It's called racial profiling, and it's unconstitutional. This is not the America that we fight for every day. This is what we should be fighting against.
New video shared with Outfront of the now viral encounter between a rideshare driver who is an American citizen and Border Patrol agents, including top official Greg Bavino. Ahmed bin Hassan is now sharing more than 10 minutes of this video with us. He was stopped by agents just hours after Renee Good was killed. Ahmed is an American citizen, originally from Somalia, but he's been an American citizen for a decade. He was ordered, though, by agents to identify himself. His video confronting the agents has gotten nearly 3 million views just on his own Instagram account alone. Here's a clip.
I'm here working. You're working too, right? Right. So go. It says U.S. Border Patrol. This is not the border. Go to the Canada border or the Mexico border.
If you were from
I'm
this
working,
country,
dude.
If you were from this country,
What do you mean? What do you mean if I'm from this country?
I can hear you don't have the same accent as me. That's why I'm.
Oh,
asking
so
you.
you're going by accents now?
I want to know
is that what it
born.
is?
Where were you born?
I had a hard time sleeping last night thinking about the years, the decades, even the centuries it's going to take to undo the damage that this fucking psychopath in the White House has done to this country. All the damage that Donald Trump and his enablers in his administration, in Congress, and in right-wing media, all the damage that they've all done to this country. It's going to take years, decades, centuries to undo all that damage. And really, when you think about it, so much of the damage will never be undone, can never be undone. Alex Pretti. How do you undo the damage done to him? He's dead. Renee Good, how do you undo the damage done to her? She's dead. The hundreds of thousands of immigrants who've had their lives destroyed, their family relationships severed, never to be heard from again. How do you undo the damage done to them? The immigrants in this country that Trump and his people disappeared and sent into another country, not even the country of their origin. How the fuck do you undo the damage done to them? And while I'm at it, Renee Good, Alex Pretti, their killings, their public executions are seared into our consciousness because we've all seen the videos. But in this year of 2026, the year that's only a month old, 9 other people have been killed. Not Alex Pretti, 9 others besides Alex Pretti and Renee Good have been killed because of ICE, killed by ICE. We haven't seen those videos. A black man, Keith Porter, killed by ICE. A Cambodian, Parody La, killed by ICE. 5 Latinos, Heber Sanchez Dominguez, Victor Manuel Diaz, Luis Beltran Yanes Cruz, Luis Gustavo Nunez Ceres, Geraldo Lunes Campos, all killed this year in 2026 so far by ICE. ICE is on a pace to kill this year more than 100 people. Remember those names. And we're not even talking yet about the tens of thousands of immigrants and citizens in detention centers right now, some of whom will die in ICE care, in ICE prison, because they won't receive the medical care they need to receive. So much of this damage can and will never be done. Man, the memories of Alex Pretti and Renee Good, man, they need to always be here. And their memories and the images that we saw of their public executions, we must never forget. But don't forget the other 7 already killed by ICE this year. The other black and Cambodian and Latino immigrants killed and citizens killed by ICE. Damage caused by Trump, damage that Trump unleashed, that can never be undone, will never be undone. Keep their names and their killings seared in your memories as we resist, as we continue to resist and continue to demand that ICE is abolished now. I'm Joe Walsh. Thank you.
We need people to come in legally, but they have to show that they can love our country, not hate our country. They have to show that they're not going to blow up our shopping centers, blow up our farms, kill people. They're coming in legally, but they cannot come in unless they come in legally into our country, and we're letting some great people come in. They have to show that they can love our country. They have to be proud. Not like Ilhan Omar. Did you see what... Did you see that wise guy? You know, she's always talking about the Constitution provides me with the following. You know, the Constitution, she comes from a country that's a disaster. It's considered, I think, it's not even a country, okay? It barely has a government. I don't think it does. They go to one thing. pirates. But they don't do that anymore. You know why? Because they get the same treatment from us as the drug dealers get. Boom, boom, boom. We need people.
Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin to know nothing. No, we will continue.
No. You need to go get checked.
No, we will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away with it.
You need to go get checked. No, you don't know what.
It's President Trump seeming to defend Kristi Noem yesterday. Your thoughts?
You know, I think one of the best things President Trump has done, and really people from across the aisle support, is removing violent people from our cities. So I think that's been a good thing largely, but it can't be done with no rules. And so when people watch that video and the government tells them, well, he was assaulting the police officers, nobody with any objectivity watches that video and believes that's what's happening. As the man retreats, with each altercation, he retreats, and then the woman is thrown violently to the ground. He's thrown to the ground. No American believes that he was assaulting the officers. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. So we have to get some rules of the game, and we can't have the government justifying this type of behavior because the vast majority of Americans think this was unfair, what happened. The intimation, or actually the explicit call to say you don't have a Second Amendment right to carry arms in a protest really flies in the face of most of our Second Amendment community. I can tell you I've been to dozens and dozens of rallies and or protests where people are visibly armed or have concealed carry. So the people who are saying this, we need to get this straight so we can have some kind of awareness if people go to a protest that they know what the rules of the game are. If videoing somebody is an assault, which most people don't believe it is, but that is assault, then people need to know that if you video someone, you could be shot. And so we need a clarification on all of this, and I'm going to reserve judgment on the Secretary for now, but we need to hear from all of the people involved with this. And
I am the son of 2 police officers. From a very young age, I learned that law enforcement should exist to serve and protect people. We can enforce our laws without this chaos. We can enforce our laws without federal agents killing people in the streets of American cities. We should demand that as senators, as Republicans and Democrats, as Americans. We should all demand better. And we should use our power to make that happen. That's why I will not vote for the Department of Homeland Security budget this week, because that agency needs an overhaul from the top down and the bottom up. That's why the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and the guy who everybody knows is actually making the decisions and calling the shots and running the show, Stephen Miller, both of them should be out of jobs because they have lost the trust of the American people. And that's why I introduced the Stop Excessive Force in Immigration Act to rein in and stop
this abuse of power.
That are going on inside the Congress that have actually prevented the release of these files. So all of this stuff is tied together. And even if the president is saying he doesn't like the gruesome pictures, trust me, he likes the gruesome pictures because the gruesome pictures keeps the Epstein files away from the front and center of the mainstream media. The gruesome joke inside the White House is when they make Stephen Miller the viceroy of Venezuela, where is he going to deport the Venezuelans to? I was at the World Economic Forum. I do think the Greenland thing is a distraction, and I think it really all does come down to the Epstein files. And remember, there could be immigration issues for the president's family inside the Epstein files, among other things. And so I think this is going to continue. And while I respect Congressman Ro Khanna, I don't understand the procedural things that are going on inside the Congress that have actually prevented the release of these files. So all of this stuff is tied together. And even if the president is saying he doesn't like the gruesome pictures, trust me, he likes the gruesome pictures because the gruesome pictures keeps the Epstein files away from the front and center of the mainstream media.
It's an old story. At first, they seem ridiculous. The big egos, the bad ideas. Some of them seem almost comical. Not here, the people say. Yet men like these find their following because they know how to use hate and fear. Fear of foreigners, immigrants, and minorities. Of Jews, Muslims, Christians. They dismiss the experts, demonize the press, promise they alone can deliver better lives and brighter futures. If they could only be rid of the obstacles to that power. Eventually, enough people buy it. They hand the fate of their nations over to madmen. But then suddenly, it's not so funny. The military deploys on the streets to protect the leader. Names appear on enemy lists. Opposition voices are silenced or imprisoned. The leader promises the right bloodlines will survive, and the wrong ones will be purged. It's an old story, one that could never happen here. The very idea is ridiculous, almost comical. There's no one dividing us, no one telling us who to hate, who to put in cages, no one demonizing the press, dismissing the experts, no would-be savior claiming he alone can fix our problems if only the obstacles to power are removed. No one singling out the other, telling us what should become of them. No enemy lists, no threats of imprisonment. No one lashing out when their ego is threatened, demanding absolute loyalty and using the military to control the streets. No, it can't happen. Not here. We know too well how it begins, and it's always been up to us how it ends.
This idea for the former ICE director, my co-panelist over here, that Alex Pretti, this VA nurse who was brandishing a cell phone, was somehow a threat, that even after he had 6 full-grown men, like these grown-ass men on top of him, that he needed to be that the threat had to be eliminated by unloading his clip into him. I mean, you can say this and you can feel justified, and we'll have Officer Tatum over here back you up because there's nothing that Trump or any of these secret police or the Trump administration can do that will garner any pushback. But that right there is the perfect testament to why nobody believes what's happening here. It's because even these ardent right-wingers in this country, and certainly the vast, vast, vast majority of independents, I'm talking 3/4 of independents in this country, are listening to this gaslighting and recognizing that it's not just a lie they're being told, but it's utter contempt that's being displayed by these Trump administration officials for the American people. This idea that Alex Pretti posed some threat where the response needed to be unloading his clip.
To be resolved.
And it's not going to be resolved because the reality is DHS is not going to investigate any of this. DHS isn't going to investigate anything Pretti's going to do. Just like DHS, just like DHS is not going to investigate Jonathan Ross because DHS doesn't investigate any of this stuff. So if the excuse is always going to be, oh, don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of this in some full investigation. There's not going to be a full investigation.
Should he be charged with murder?
So we just have to listen to the gaslighting being fed to us by Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Kristi Noem. Liam Ramos, a 5-year-old boy wearing a bunny hat and a Spider-Man backpack, used as bait to get his father to come outside. He was here legally, going through the legal process, the exact thing that, Brandon, you're claiming you wanted to see, and yet he's now in the process of deportation. So the goalpost will always move. You'll claim that this is all about wanting people to go through the proper process, but then you've got people who are going through the proper process, and yet ICE still creates deportation porn out of their processes and tries to get them out of the country anyway. I think what Brandon is doing is actually pretty instructive because the reality is that everybody saw the video. Like 85% of Americans saw this video.
It doesn't matter. You
More
don't
Americans saw
understand the
this
law.
video. Brandon,
so what
Brandon,
you're seeing
just
is
chill out
not
for a second.
according to what they're going to be judged by.
Control yourself. Brendan, try to control yourself.
No,
for like 2
how
seconds,
about
okay?
you listen?
Try to control yourself.
Know what they're talking about.
Try. Just try like 2 seconds to not talk.
Give me the law. Give me the law that he's going to be prosecuted under.
Brandon, 2 seconds, man.
Give me the law he's going to be prosecuted under.
This isn't a good testament for how law enforcement officials are able to control themselves. 2 seconds without talking.
It's not a good testament how
the reality is the vast majority of Americans,
like you don't know the law.
Brandon, just shut up for like 2 seconds.
Where's the law?
The vast majority of Americans saw this video. We know what we saw with our own eyes. Even conservatives, even independents know that what ICE was doing was completely unjustified. That he was holding his cell phone and was bombarded by 6 grown-ass men who shot him dead. And the fact that you're standing up here, Brandon, just shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. The fact that you can sit up here and claim.
You talking tough ain't gonna work with me, buddy. Give me the law.
What are you going to do? Shoot him 10 times? Shoot him in the back of the head?
This whole time, you're cosplaying as a tough guy while you bootleg for 6 grown-ass men who jumped on a nurse and shot him dead. This is not the tough position. You are defending. Being a bootlegger is not a tough position, my dude. That was me debating the former acting ICE director during Trump's first term, Jonathan Fahey, and right-wing commentator Brandon Tatum alongside Tim Miller on the latest episode of Piers Morgan's show. And if you were wondering who could watch the horrific execution of Alex Pretti and still try and justify the fact that some ICE agent pushed him backward for the apparent crime of holding a cell phone before 6 agents got on top of him, one disarmed him of the legal gun that was holstered, and only after he was disarmed did they unload a clip of bullets into him, killing him, now you've got your answer. It was an execution in the street, for which there will be zero accountability at the hands of this federal government, who pre-cleared him the moment it happened. So again, if you're wondering who is depraved enough to try and justify this stuff, this is what those people look like. And I thought the most telling part was that since they're so loath to acknowledge objective reality that there was zero justification to execute Alex Pretti because rule number 1 for being a right-wing commentator is that you have to toe Trump's line 100% of the time and be a good little cultist, is this idea that we couldn't possibly have the answers now until a complete and thorough investigation is conducted. But as I mentioned, that won't happen. In fact, that was undermined immediately when Noem, Vance, Miller, and Trump all decided to pre-clear this ICE agent. So do you really think that those people are going to give an accurate and honest assessment about the ICE agent's culpability here? They won't even release the guy's name, because despite the fact that he is a public official paid for by our tax dollars, it's more important to protect a killer than the victim. But still, these conservatives will pretend that a full investigation will adjudicate this issue, when you'd have about as much luck getting Trump to not claim victory at one of his own golf tournaments. And I gotta say, these conservatives like Fahey and Tatum don't have to do this. they could retain a shred of their dignity. I mean, hell, even a bunch of right-wing podcasters in the manosphere who were in part responsible for Trump taking office in the first place at least have the self-awareness to cut bait when things look this bad.
Let's talk about what happened in Minneapolis. ICE murdered an American citizen in cold blood, and then the Trump administration called him a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I see the administration trying to spin it, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't even have a moment where they're like, hey, we're reviewing the footage. We're going to try to see what's really happening. All of them, Trump and all the cronies, put out collective statements that immediately blamed an American citizen that was exercising his First and Second Amendment rights. Right? He has the right to protest. He has the right to carry a firearm. He's a legal gun owner, right? There's no question about this whatsoever. And the administration immediately comes out and they try to gaslight the public, which you cannot do when we have 15 different videos of what happened.
Yes, it is what they do, though.
What ICE is doing, like fucking shooting that lady, seems kind of crazy. You know, like grabbing people that happen to be American citizens and fucking dragging them out onto the snow and asking them for their papers. That seems kind of fucking crazy, too. ICE are villains. And now people are looking at them like murderous military people that are on the streets of our city, and they're masked up, which is also a problem, right?
Who the hell are they? We don't even know. These are people that like answered an ad on Craigslist. I mean, these people, who is joining ICE? I mean, these people are so shot. The people who are joining ICE are so shot. You know, they don't have anything going on. These are people who like a mole threw out because they couldn't do like security at a mall. They I don't know what they did, but they're out now. They maybe attacked a child or something.
I mean, even Republican senators are speaking out.
I think after seeing this, if you call this a good shooting, you aren't watching the video. This was a real tragedy and a mistake. The man had been disarmed and then was shot 10 times. I want ICE to do a good job. I want ICE to get rid of the violent people in our communities. But we can't have it if we say things like, oh, yeah, well, he was an assassin and he was a domestic terrorist. If we say things that are obviously not true, the situation is going to get worse.
I agree that some of the administration made this worse by saying things that obviously were untrue.
Senator, do you have faith in Kristi Noem as DHS Secretary?
I've already made a statement on that.
Oh, I wasn't there for it?
Yeah, I said that I've lost confidence in her.
Do you think that President Trump should remove her from the position? Do you think she should resign?
Obviously, up to the president. I think we would be better served with new leadership.
And if she doesn't leave on her own volition, or if the president doesn't fire her from the position, would you support something like impeachment?
I have expressed my lack of confidence in her, and my voice is out there, and we see what happens.
And one more question: is it just is this just because of how she handled the Alex Pretti shooting, or do you think that it's a greater?
I think that there are
issue.
I mentioned to just that reporter there. I think that there are other issues. I supported her. I supported the nomination. I had great hopes for her in the department, and I've been disappointed.
Do you regret that vote?
I just said I have been disappointed.
I think that what she's done in Minnesota should be disqualifying. She should be out of the job. And I mean, really, it's just amateurish. It's terrible. It's making the president look bad on policies that he won on. He won on a strong message about immigration. And now nobody's talking about that. They're not talking about securing the border. They're talking about the incompetence of the leader of the Homeland Security and the other people, Davino, whatever his name is. He needs to go back to California, get his retirement papers, and go. These people are amateurs. They got to de-escalate there and treat these communities with some respect.
So when even these people, whose own elections are largely predicated on their fealty to Donald Trump, when these people can manage to speak out against him and his ICE operation, then that puts on full display the extremism of some of these right-wing mouthpieces. The Overton window shifts every single day that they're now condemning people carrying concealed firearms at protests. But as I mentioned in the original clip, I'm actually glad that I had the opportunity to confront a few people who support this overreach, because it puts on full display the lunacy of that position. And if you want to align yourself with these people, that's your prerogative, but you are joined by just the farthest right fringes of that Republican base. Here, for instance, is what the entire country looks like in terms of the polling as it relates to ICE and their extrajudicial
DHS, Kristi Noem have been a political disaster, because just take a look here. I mean, ICE's net approval rating during Trump's term, you go back to term number 1, look, it's pretty even, 0 points. You go to June 2025, right? That was when all that stuff was going on in Los Angeles. They dropped down, look at this, minus 17 points, way in the basement. But then after Minneapolis, it's even lower, minus 27 points on the net approval rating of ICE. Of course, this all being done under Kristi Noem. So, no, what's going on in Minneapolis is not popular at all. What's been going on during this second term under ICE, under the Trump administration, under Kristi Noem, has very much not been popular, and it's only been getting more and more unpopular.